Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here to chat all things Leeds United, looking at Leeds United's 3-1 victory over Burnley last night. Plus, we're going to have a little chat about the relegation battle, and we're going to have a little glimpse to the future as well. I'm very interested to get Jason's take on where he thinks we should go as a club going into the summer. Now that we think we're 99.9% sure Leeds United will be competing in the Premier League next year. I'm Stephen Brown, with me Jason Booker. Get your likes in, get your comments in, and please get subscribed to the channel. Well, Jason, the boys delivered again a 3-1 victory over Burnley, taking us to dizzying heights of 43 points, 9 clear of Spurs, obviously got game in hand, and it feels like that's it now. That feels like Premier League status is basically assured now. It was massive. We looked at these games against Wolves and Burnley in particular, thought got to win them, but football's never straightforward like that. The idea, we've got to win them or we'll definitely win them, it doesn't always work like that, but they've absolutely delivered again. They've delivered in those moments, and you and I were chatting just a few minutes before we came on about those type of games in the past where you've just been kind of expecting Leeds to do what they need to do, and it's not quite worked out. But this time we've absolutely delivered. As Gav says here, morning all, we're in grave danger of Conference League law. Well, this is it. We're closer to Europe now, 5 points behind Chelsea, remarkably. And what a few weeks it's been, what a season it's been, and we're going to take a look at it all. But Jason, 3-1 Burnley last night. What were your general thoughts before we dig a little bit deeper into it?
Yeah, look, it had all the hallmarks of a banana skin, already relegated, changing manager, the day before, different in impetus. They wanted to put a spanner in the works. We've not beaten Burnley in under, certainly with Scott Parker being there with Farker and all these kind of narratives that get wrote. We've not scored a goal against them, yada, yada, yada. These things kind of they grow legs, don't they? The more people talk them into existence, the more and more we kind of then it becomes a potential reality that is the case. But look, to kind of skim over the game in a short form, outside of 20 minutes in the second half, which I weren't too happy with, we completely dominated the game. We could have scored a lot more goals. We had all the quality. They had none of the quality. They had a little bit of guile, but they had the freedom of not being able to. They didn't have to worry about what happened. I thought once the game went to 3-0, they obviously let themselves be a bit more open, and they actually knocked it around quite nicely from time to time. But I never felt in real danger outside of just the trepidation that any Leeds fan will always feel of throwing something away and just having everybody else going, "Oh, Leeds have done the Leeds thing again." Like that was it. Like, it didn't really feel like we were at risk. I didn't think. I thought, not to kind of go into too many points, but I thought we wrestled control of the game back once Brendan came on, because I thought we could then press from the front. I thought he had a real important job in keeping us in control of that game yesterday. But there were loads to like, mate. I thought we were, for large parts, very, very, very good. Early on, we were knocking the ball about so quickly and smoothly. We were opening up spaces in a rear guard. And bear in mind, they came away from home with nothing to play for and played with 5 at the back. They played 5-4-1 as well. They didn't even play like an attacking version of it or anything. They just sat in. But they weren't very good, and they're not very good. And we are now 23 points ahead of the team that we finished on level points with last season, which is sensational. I know this will come back up later on into the show, but me and Browney were just talking about whether this team has surpassed what the 2020-2021 team has. And I don't want to go into the details of what we said with that yet, because I guess we will speak about it later. But one thing I do think that is important to mention is in that season, Southampton finished in 15th on 43 points, which is what we've now got today. They finished on that in 15th. They finished 15 points clear of the bottom 3 that day. 15 points clear. So the landscape of the Premier League has just changed so dramatically. But it serves as a bit of a kind of a reminder of just how impressive this points total has been with still 3 games left to play. So, and they've done that. The 3 wins out of the last 4. We were undefeated in the last 6. The draws away from home that I banged on about have added up. They've made a huge difference in terms of the total. I'm buzzing, mate. I'm absolutely delighted, and they deserve it. They deserve. We're 3 points behind Sunderland as well, who's glazed over all season. So, yeah, impressive.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And when you saw the players coming off last night, and just the sheer amount of effort and will that's been put in by this group of players, and Farker, I think our running stats are through the roof. I think we're only behind Man City for distance covered, and it's weird because it's echoes of that Bielsa team in that first season who ran everyone off the pitch, and we definitely kind of echoed that as well. It's probably not spoken about in terms of how fit the team are and how much effort they've put in. I mean, chart came out, we've had the lowest amount of injuries out of any team this season. So it's compliments all round. I think when you're looking at the recruitment, you're looking at the medical team, the players themselves, for me, it just feels like such a complete job that we've done, in total.
I know I'm interrupting you a little bit.
No, you got
specific because of the medical department. I don't think that kind of gets enough praise.
No,
it's one of the biggest changes the club made. And, Rob Price was really well thought of at Leeds. I know he was. Patrick Bamford used to talk very glowingly about him, so did Calvin Phillips. But there was something identified by the club and Daniel Farker in terms of him and his medical staff and the way that it was going. And they got rid of him and they changed it. And since then, we've seen a systematic change the way that injuries are the capabilities of being able to get players back. Manor Solomon rebuilt himself completely last season after us panicking about what he was going to be able to do. I remember Ilya Gruev and Ethan Ampadu were both said to be out for 3 to 4 months last season at the same time, and they were both back in no time. Ampadu came back after about a month. It was really wild. We've had other ones this season as well. I mean, Gruev were expected to be out earlier on this season and came back really quickly. Calvert-Lewin obviously has been able to rebuild himself. He spoke so glowingly about Daniel Farker last night after on the coverage. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was really nice to see. He deserved. Lucas Mecha came with 2 years of solid, proper problem injuries. He's had little niggles here and there, but he's played a lot of games and he's scored some vital goals. Noah Okafor's had injury after injuries in previous seasons. Yeah, he's still struggled this season, but we've got him on the pitch enough to be able to make that considerable difference. And I'll let you share the Okafor stat as well, because that's mind-blowing. So the medical department and the club for identifying that and sorting that out is as good as 1 or 2 insane signings.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's so important. Look at what's happening at Spurs. I'm watching a lot of Spurs content at the minute, and they are losing their mind with their medical department. Not to mention the Peppa Pig debacle that's gone on this week. That's been hilarious. But it's hilarious. But the medical department, I mean, they're under the cosh, and then Xavi Simons is doing his ACL, and they're getting him to jump on it and spraying ice spray on his knee. That's nuts.
Did you see the thing about the retractable pitch?
Yeah, I've heard the same.
When Real Madrid both got retractable pitches, had the most ACLs, but you're absolutely bang on, because James Justin, another one who was afflicted by injuries so badly, had really serious injuries, and I couldn't agree more. I think yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Rodon and Stack we weren't meant to see them in April, and they both came back early and made appearances. Absolutely phenomenal, and worth so much and just contributes to what we've achieved. Let's have a run through the game before we get to bigger picture. Then, obviously, coming into the game, Stack makes his return to the starting lineup, swapping for Brendan. Just on that point, what do you make of that? Obviously, Brendan has been a stalwart for the majority of this season, but it does feel like there's a little bit of a hierarchy now. I think if Stack had been fit for April, I think we'd have seen a lot less of Brendan, probably in terms of starts and everything. But we saw within 5-6 minutes what you get from Anton Stack. I mean, at the start of that game, I had the heebie-jeebies about this one, just from past kind of Leeds United experiences. And honestly, I would just when a player picks up the ball like that, first of all, the pass from Beal is fantastic.
Wow.
It just breaks the lines. But when a player picks up the ball like that, smashes it home from outside the box with the most precise, powerful shot, it just relieves all that tension straight away. It's like that is that extra special bit of quality that someone like him can give you, and it just eases the tension. It breaks the tension. It means you're not going into the 70th and 80th minute not having scored a goal yet. It just stops all of that, and he is, I mean, what a signing, what a player. But yeah, I mean, does that feel like, because I mean, they started the Everton game, all those months ago, Ampadu, Tanaka and Stack, that were the middle three. But what did you make of Brendan coming out and Stack going in? Were you surprised? Did you expect it?
Yeah, I did. I don't think it was. Personally, I don't think it's ever been a question of Stack or Aronson. I think it's been a question of Tanaka or Aronson. And because Tanaka's form's improved, we're able to get more technically gifted footballer on the pitch. Yeah. That's the truth. Stack yesterday did the job of Brendan Aronson. His work rate was insane yesterday. The amount of coverage that he got through, the press, he was absolutely on it. He looked so good yesterday, Anton Stack. It was unplayable in both possession and out of possession. He was leading the press just like Brendan does. Now, I love Brendan for many different reasons. Technically, he's nowhere near as good as Anton Stack or Zao Tanaka, but he can do what he can do in bucket spades. You know what I mean? Like in bucket loads. So I've got no problem with it, and I think Brendan's creativity has probably dropped since Newcastle away. I think most people can kind of see that as a point where it was kind of then on the downturn, but I still think he's had a really good moment. I thought it was very good at Old Trafford. Bear in mind, we went that day without Anton Stack and still won that game. So, I just think it's a squad, mate. I'm not, just like we've said time and time again with regards to individual players and the manager himself, I'm not Brendan Aronson FC. I'm Leeds United FC. And what is right for the team is right for the team. And right now, Brendan not starting games with the way that everybody else is playing is the right thing for the team. Yeah. I'm totally all right with that. And Brendan, I made the point about Brendan earlier. Brendan came off the bench and did a really good job at wrestling back some control because he were able to put that press on them. Yeah. We lost control from between 60 and 75, and Brendan came on around 70, and it then allowed us to be able to get hold of the ball again. We pressed and rushed Burnley into making mistakes in possession, which then stopped them creating chances. It's often things that fans will look past because it doesn't look great. It can't be measured by a metric, but it were brilliant when he came on. So if that's a role he's playing, then great.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting about Brendan as well, a little kind of sidebar, but I do want to bring it up because his contract expires. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract, and it's that interesting thing with Brendan because, what do you do with that? Because I think we'd all probably look at it going, we can probably upgrade, in terms of that, but he's a great squad option. But you don't want to let him go for free. But then it's almost like the Dan James thing where it's like, Dan James had 2 great years in the Championship. He gets a new contract, but you just see that level difference at Premier League. And, you wonder if, is somebody going to come in and buy Dan James? And so I'm not too sure. In terms of Brendan's future, 1 year left, it's that awkward kind of conversation, isn't it, really? Because for me, if we were doing our end of year video where it's like buy, sell, bench, his bench for me, his bench is Aronson. But with a year left on your contract, you're in that kind of vulnerable position because you don't want to, he's 25, be 26 next year. You don't want to be losing him on a free, ideally. But do you want to commit to 3-4 year contract on probably what will be, well, there might match terms or bigger terms, I don't know. It's a little bit kind of sticky, isn't it, in a way? What would you do with that situation, do you think?
It's a tricky one. I think you make an interesting comparison with Dan James. I think they're a little bit different in that I think Brendan has really proved his worth this season. Yeah. I think he's a really great squad option. I think a lot of Premier League teams in the bottom half of the Premier League would like Brendan Aronson on their bench. Yeah. And then if there's injuries or opportunities, you get him into the starting lineup and you can trust him enough to do a job. And I also think there's a world in which Brendan Aronson continues to improve. I think he's improved this season. He's shown to be of a Premier League level. Is he a top Premier League player? No, but he's a Premier League player. He can be creative. He can score goals. And if you can continue to improve that at 25 into his 26, 27, 28, when he's going to be hitting prime, then actually you could have a much better player in your hands. The truth is, with a year to go, he's not going to fetch much in terms of a return anyway. So I don't see there being a world in which you then sell him. And you obviously don't let his contract run down unless that's something that he chooses to do. But I think if you sell a a continuation to Brendan, that he can continue to improve. He's going to get game time should he deserve it and earn it, and he continues to improve his game. His attitude is always perfect.
Yeah.
I think you keep him, mate. I don't think it makes any sense at all. We were kind of saying a similar version of this a year ago, and I just feel the same about it now with bells and whistles on, because he's improved. He's been so much better this season than anybody expected him to be.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think without him, let's just say we dropped him out of the squad completely. He didn't play a single game this season because he got injured. I think we'd be in a bit of a problem. I think we'd have had a problem. There were periods of this season where he was absolutely vital. So I think keep him. I think Dan James is different. I think Dan James, after a season injured, I think you look to move him on to one of the promoted teams if you can get 15, 20 million quid and earn back some of the money that you put out there personally, which is sad. A lot of it's down to injuries, but we don't really know him at this level, whether he can do it, so I'd probably look to move him on personally.
Yeah, well, I think it's a fascinating chat. I know we're kind of going off tangent here. I will pull it back to the game, but I think it's a fascinating chat about the transfers and stuff, because I think there's got to be a ruthlessness. The great thing is, and Stuart Dallas said it last night,
I saw it.
They finished 9th, they finished 17th the year after. They didn't get that side of it right. Now, he said, look, I back the people in charge to do it, and I do, but there's going to have to be ruthless conversations about James, Peru, there's got to be. And it's difficult if there's no bias. You can't just lump people out. But I, for example, think we'll lose a big name. I think we'll lose a big favourite.
Have you heard the noises about Joe Rodon?
I haven't actually. No.
There were a lot of noise come out yesterday that we'd be looking to move him on to then take the squad. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'd be surprised given what he's done, but his age is probably at the point where you're gonna get maximum return for him. So from that point, it maybe makes sense. So it'd be interesting. But I agree with you. I think there's going to be a big name.
100%.
Pascal's got a year left on his deal. He could be one for a chunk. You might even see a world in which Calvert-Lewin. I don't think, but you could. Anton Stack is going to be one that's going to, because Anton Stack could play genuinely. Me and my lad were talking about it yesterday. Anton Stack could play for Man City. I don't think he'd look out of place in either Man City or Arsenal. I'm not saying he'd play every game. I'm not saying he'd play week in, week out. But I think he's right up there, mate. And I think they'll be looking at him.
I'm staggered because I'd never heard of him before we signed him, and I'm kind of scratching my head going, how did I never hear about this guy before? Like, how was he not playing in the Premier League like 2, 3, 4 years? How was he not picked up? I mean,
it's funny, isn't it?
Ball striking, his energy. He's like the quintessential modern day football. Is perfect.
Yeah, he is, and he's improved this season as well.
Yeah,
like he's developed. His passing range is excellent. His stride, the way that he carries the ball so effortlessly, and his strike obviously but it's his game awareness and his decision making. It's so much better than everybody else's in our team. His decision making is just literally like, there were a moment yesterday where the ball bounced on the edge of the Burnley box and he strode into it and chested it forward, and then he plays this deft little touch over the defender's head into Jadon Bogle's path, and it's like there's not another single player on the pitch that could have done that for us. And it's just his decision making, his timing is perfect. He just reads the game so effortlessly. And I know that like some of it's a little bit cringe, but it's hilarious. The guy's just such a character. I've started watching some of his vlogging of his daily life and stuff, and he's hilarious. His missus is hilarious. Like he's just class. He just gets Leeds. It feels like he gets us. So I hope he sticks around. I personally see a Rafinha path with him. I think he stays next season. And then at the end of next season, if he has another big season, I think he gets a monster move. I could see him at Bayern Munich, no bother.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, if it happens, let's get our money. Let's make sure we get our money. Just to bring some comments in, thanks for your comments, guys. Keep them coming in. 78, I see no reason we can't go unbeaten in our last 3 to underline this great season. Farke is our man. And he
also is in 26, Brownie.
Yeah, but absolutely bonkers. Sad for Dan. He could have been useful this season, but agree if we can move him on, we should. And Gav, we have to sign a top-class striker, in my opinion. Getting back to the game, then obviously we took that lead in the first half, and I think we could have extended that lead. It seemed like we kept them at bay. Going into the second half, Jay, very early on in the second half, they were kind of knocking it about for a few minutes, and I think there was a little bit of edginess in the crowd. But then, I mean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I mean, let's talk about his kind of impact here. I mean, he runs with the ball, you're thinking, where's he going to go? What's he going to do here? Pulls out the back heel. Bogle don't even touch the ball. Bogle were doing this all game. These beautifully flighted crosses that Bogle was doing. He does that, and then Okafor, the finish, by the way. This guy's finishing, Okafor. It feels almost like he's got several types of finish in his box of tricks. The way he just times it, it was a brilliant goal, Jay.
It were a joy to watch, wasn't it? If you see the big pan out view that Sky showed, it shows when Calvert-Lewin, because he kind of intercepts it, doesn't it? It's a sloppy ball in the midfield by Burnley, and he picks it up. You see Jayden Bogle start his run, and he sprints the whole length of the pitch to catch up with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I played at the I forgot the name of the pitch yesterday, but the Scunthorpe's ground yesterday, and I played at Ellen Road before. And I was thinking this yesterday before watching the game. It is so hard. I'm fit, right? Like I run a gym, and I'm running up and down this pitch yesterday, and I am knackered. Like my legs are in bits. Like my cardio's on its ass. It is so hard to do that, especially when you're sprinting. And we take it for granted as fans of football because we watch it so often. We're just like, oh, well, they should be fit. Of course, like it's elite. And for Jayden Bogle to do that, get there, and then have the calm and composure to just float it in like he does, it's just a beautiful goal. I don't know if Calvert-Lewin improvises because he runs himself into that position. He runs himself into a bit of a dead end, doesn't he? And then he pulls that out. But I thought he were a class act yesterday, Calvert-Lewin, and I thought his interview afterwards were also class, and he just looks so happy, so at peace. He trusts his body, and then Noah Okafor. Noah Okafor, he's been, I would say, he's been hit and miss this season as a season's concerned. But the last, I think it's 7 games where he scored these goals, he's been sensational. He's been excellent. He's been our X factor all season, really. He's certainly been our match winner in this run. And I'll let you share that stat now because you deserve to share it. It's unbelievable. We don't give him the props, really.
No, I mean there's a couple actually around Noah Okafor I want to go, but I saw this kind of flashing around Twitter. But Noah Okafor has now scored more non-penalty goals this season than Rafinha did in either of his seasons with Leeds United. Now, you think of Rafinha, how amazing he was, and Noah Okafor has got more goals than him from open play, non-penalty situations. And also, Noah Okafor, since the start of February, he has the second best minutes per goal ratio across all of Europe's big 5 leagues, behind only Harry Kane.
It's nuts.
That's wild stuff.
It is, and we have this picture of Rafinha, and Rafinha for me is the best player I've ever seen playing a league shirt in my lifetime. The guy was insane, and I'm not saying for a second that Noah Okafor's as good as him because he's not. We probably forget just how many big chances Rafinha created. I don't know what the assist charts look like. I mean, Rafinha, it used to make me laugh in that, especially even in season 1. He used to be just laying on these like massive chances to Jack Harrison, Patrick Bamford, Click, Stuart Dallas, and they'd just be getting put wide, and Rafinha just be like, and he'd turn away. You'd see him time and time again, like them not end up in goals. So we're not comparing them as such, but in terms of the importance and impact, you have to just take it at face value. That's a hell of a return for somebody that's playing a similar area of the pitch to Rafinha. And we don't really give Noah Okafor anywhere near the same credit as what Rafinha gave us over this last stretch of, like I say, 6-7 games or whatever it's been. He's been excellent, honestly excellent. I can't say enough about him, to be honest.
No, he for me has made that difference. He's the one who needed to come back into the attack when things looked to be drying up. He was kind of coming back from that injury around that kind of Brentford Sunderland game. It felt like we were missing that kind of someone who could do what he can do. And I mean, he blew Man United apart, and it's just carried on since. It's now 9 goal contributions from a player where you mentioned about a hit and miss, and it feels like maybe it started miss and it's now kind of gravitating towards hit, I think. And
yeah.
I think without him this season, you'd be worried in this section what we would have done. Because I know people have. I mean, I've heard content creators saying Nonto should have been starting over him, and I mean, bonkers stuff like this a few games ago. And when you look at James, when you look at Nonto, when you look at Aronson, Okafor can do that thing where it's clinical. I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier. It's several types of different finishers. With that talk early, is he a winger? Is he a second striker? But he's almost like you can see that he can do both those kind of things. He's like a hybrid, isn't he? And with his fitness, again, credit to the medical team, because he was a real gamble. His fitness record was shocking. And he's come into it now, and he's probably he's 28 games, 28 appearances we've seen from Okafor, right? Some of them are, small subs, but for someone with that record, and he's a player with high intensity sprints. He's going to be more prone to those muscle injuries and everything. And he was playing with a slight knock last night. Farkas said he looked like he was limping around at the end. So he's shown that commitment. Like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, he's loving it as well. Have you seen how his attitude, and he's jumping on Calvert-Lewin at the end?
Like being the man, isn't it?
Yeah, he buys into it. He's completely bought into it. And you know what? It'll be super interesting to see how he evolves from here. I'm intrigued to see what he will do next year. Now, what I would like from a squad thing is if you can get someone who can be on the pitch more, last longer, but has his impact in games, has that level, that's the dream. But I'll be really fascinated to see how he evolves from this.
But we'll need it. We're going to need more quality in them areas of the pitch. We need a version of that on the right-hand side, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
if you've got that on the other side as well.
Yeah. The content world's a madness, isn't it? I mean, I still saw a content creator the other day going on about Ramazani, and I'm like... I'm still arguing that Ramazani should have played over Solomon last season because he was our player. What world are we on? What planet are we on? Mana Solomon was excellent, last season. There's no argument. And the level differences between them, I like Willie Nonto, and I hate kind of digging him out. I think he's a good squad option for us. I think we're at the point where we're nearly moving on from him, if I'm honest.
I agree.
But if you for this season, it makes sense that he'd be part of the squad. But the differences between them two are just so big. So big. It's insane. And for me, he really has stood out as being that quality. And we're mentioning Stats and Anton Stack. Both of them too. They are the quality that we've got within this side. And they're both at the top end of their echelons of where this stats. So I don't know if you saw the stat that came out about Stack yesterday.
He's
second highest chances created in the whole league, only behind Bruno Fernandes, who's got an astronomical number this season. He basically creates everything that Man United created as Fernandes. He's in a company with
Szoboszlai.
He was level with Szoboszlai and somebody else of the similar kind of nature at Man City. I can't remember. I think it was Cherky. I think Cherky were the same number. It's insane. It's insane. So, and that is facilitated through our manager and the tactics and the style.
100%. John says our recruitment team have been top class and spent our budget better than any other Premier League team this year. I think I agree with that. I think I can't pinpoint to any team that's done a better recruitment job than us this season. I really can't. Gav, Okafor has come up trumps when we really needed him last few weeks. Getting back to the game, I know we keep going away from the game and coming back. That second half though, Jay, we get the third goal. Dominic Calvert-Lewin pokes it in. It was nice for him to get a goal as well, because there'd been a bit of, I think he'd had one non-penalty goal in 19 games or something. There was something flying around like that. So it was lovely to see him poke in and crunch keeper's leg as well at the same time. We love a bit of that. But then after that, Jay, it kind of went a bit funny. I think, kind of Burnley relaxed maybe a little bit and started knocking it about. Things started to get a bit edgy. They had the disallowed goal, and then immediately after they then score their goal. Was that just us kind of maybe taking the pressure off a little bit? We kind of relaxed a little bit. 3-0. We thought, we can kind of ease up a little bit.
I think it was a bit of both, wasn't it? I think us relaxing maybe a little bit too much. And I think Burnley at that point, I mean, they had nothing to lose to start with. It's very easy to play with a bit more freedom when you're 3-0 down than it is when you're still in the game. They made some changes. I don't like him, but Hannibal came on and kind of changed their ability to get on the ball in the middle of the pitch. I thought, I always pronounce his name wrong, but the Chichowa, the lad on the right that scored the goal.
He was lively, wasn't he?
Caused some problems all game, to be honest. It caused some issues and it caused Strauch some issues. Pascal had another moment, unfortunately. I didn't think he had a bad game overall, really, but that moment weren't great. He was flapping all over the place and he got caught running the wrong side of it, and then it kind of bobbles through him. But I think it's probably fair to give them 15 minutes off when you're 3-0 up.
Yeah.
They're not perfect. They're still a team that are going to finish in the bottom 5 or 6 of the Premier League. Yeah. They're still a team that are playing way above their levels, that have been able to surpass 10, get to 10 Premier League wins this season, I think it is now. Only losing 12 Premier League games. They've given everything. Daniel Farke said it in the interview after the game, like, they really have given absolutely everything to the Leeds United cause this season. So you know what, at 3-0 up against Burnley, when you're feeling like the job's done, there's a moment of lapse. I think we can give him it, personally.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure what Strauch was kind of doing. He was like dancing on ice a bit, wasn't he? And, it's funny because you mentioned in group, as soon as we've kind of been gassing him up, he's had a couple of moments in the last couple of games. It
looked similar to the Chelsea goal, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
You know, the pass before, like the kind of Pascal moment where it was just kind of like, it looked similar to that. He's capable of it. It's a shame. I did see somebody mention earlier that he's only got a year left on his deal as well. Like, yeah, I think my personal take on it, I think if we can get 30 million quid for Pascal Strauch and go and improve him with another left-footed centre-back, I would do it.
Yeah.
Personally.
I agree. I just, would you get that kind of money for someone with 1 year left, though, do you think?
Probably not. Probably. Maybe his age and experience do really help him be valuable. And it depends on whether he's then got the intention to sign a new contract with Leeds. You know, like, it depends on how that conversation on the landscape says. I've got no problem with him staying either. No. You know, he's still got time on his hands to improve. And just like I said with Brendan earlier, Pascal has improved so much this season. His levels have gone to another echelon that I didn't really think he had. So I've got no problem with him then staying and hoping to carry on progressing. I would just like to see us have another option. Again, if we're going to continue playing with 3 at the back, we need another out-and-out top-class centre-back to give them real competition. Bornau's done great this season as a backup option, but we need another one that can come in and be like just as good as Yakabio.
Yeah. It's fascinating with Strauch because he's that left-footed ball-playing type of centre-back, and he's also ticks that homegrown quote of it. There's a lot about Pascal where it makes him like super valuable, but I don't think he's irreplaceable. I don't think you can, you know, if you lose him, you're screwed. I don't think that, you know, I just don't. And it'll be interesting. I mean, it's because I think it was right to not give him a new deal before this season because we don't know what we were getting this season. You and I have had a lot of reservations. He was horrendous in the relegation season last time we got relegated. We hadn't seen, for me, when he came in with Llorente, that partnership in that first Premier League season, I thought I was looking at, you know, Virgil van Strauch. I thought, oh my God, we got an absolute, you know, because he was 21 or something at the time. You thought, bloody hell, we've got the next, you know, prospect here. And then it was so many issues. I didn't think he was as good as a lot in the fan base thought in the couple of championship seasons. I always thought we were improved when he was out of the team, and even Ampadu was playing centre back.
100%.
But especially in this kind of 3 at the back, I think he's been superb. But we've seen a couple of moments last couple of games where that is there as well. So it'll be fascinating. Another fascinating one that they've got to try and figure out. Another fascinating puzzle. Yeah,
this debate kind of then grows into talking about the formation, because the 3 at the back will obviously complement the centre backs because it will help them to make them look better. They've got the job is shared between three of them rather than two.
Yeah.
Now, there's complications playing in a 3-back or a 5-back, however you kind of want to look at and word it. But the specific job of the centre-back gets easier when there's three of them, if they do it if the tactic is held right and it's disciplined and it works together. So it stands to reason that Jacobiol looks better in a back three. It stands to reason that Pascal Struijk, especially, some of his deficiencies get mopped up in a back three. It's the impact that it has somewhere else on the team.
Yeah,
that's the problem. No team would choose to play with a 3-back. No. I don't believe that. I don't. You will never, ever, ever, in my opinion, see Man City, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich playing a back three.
No.
Because it takes away a midfielder that can affect the game to go and score more goals. Teams that have got deficiencies within the side play three at the back.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Daniel Farke has grown it into being a real effective tactic this season, and I've been impressed with how he's been able to then create more chances than we were creating before. Yeah. So maybe it's something that we go ahead with and we can, we continue to develop on. He does it through getting Joe Rodon up on the right wing. He does it through being so aggressive through the full-backs. Without great full-backs, we couldn't do it.
No.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin mentioned it on the interview yesterday. Like the full-backs in our system are the most important players, bar none, from an attacking sense going forward. So it's what that then does to the rest of the team. So if we decide next season we're going to recruit with the intention of playing 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, Pascal Struijk all of a sudden becomes a big problem because we need a better centre back.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So it varies depending on what you're going to do with the system. But lo and behold, I think Farke's going to want to keep him. And I do think it'd be just rewards that he gets a nice contract improvement and give him another few years, and maybe in a year's time we sell him.
Well, the thing as well is it's like you look at the long term as well. It's like I mean, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but for example, if we get in Europe, if we sneak in Europe in the next couple of seasons, you're going to need that homegrown quota. We know we haven't got a lot coming through. I mean, who else is homegrown in this team? There's nobody. There's nobody. I mean, Alex Gaines, what do you have to do? Or Byram, you have to keep Byram around to fill that homegrown quota. So even maybe from that point of view alone, you have to keep the player, unless there's an offer on the table where you're just like, we have to do it. And I mean, it's another fascinating debate, where we're going to have to get products through. We're going to have homegrown people coming through. Now, obviously, Harry Gray is the kind of hot prospect, but feels like 2-3 years away maybe before he can kind of come into that squad. There's nobody else. We haven't got any. I mean, we haven't got any 20, 21-year-olds that have kind of come through the system or that we've purchased when they were 18 that are there ready to come through. So again, I mean, that's why Byram, you might be in for another year. You never know. And Johnny Howson, can we get you in the first team squad? Or
I'm smirking at myself because I just had this flashback to a few months ago when people were saying that Harry Gray should play up front and he should start. And like, can you imagine if Harry Gray had been starting over the last 3 months?
Oh. It would. I mean, we'd have destroyed him probably. We'd have probably wrecked it or harmed his development completely.
Rotherham got relegated, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing as well. It's like we've had examples with like Meslier and Struijk himself, where it's like if you expose them to that and you put them in the firing line. I mean, if he'd have come into the team, he cannot replicate what Dominic Calvert-Lewin can do.
No,
at this stage, you just can't. The reason why the recruitment has worked so well, Jason, is because we signed players above the age of 26 who were experienced, been around the block, knew what they were doing. That's why it worked.
We will do a full show on the recruitment of this year, and we'll really, really nail it and go through it one by one because in the summer we were in the unknown a little bit, but it was very clear that there was an identity around the player, bigger, stronger, physical, prime age, 26, not messing around. We're not going for the over-the-hill experience, which I'd like to have seen us sign one or two more of. I will.
Yeah.
That James Milner, I would have liked.
Yeah.
But we didn't mess around with the 19, 20, 21-year-old. We need players to keep us up this season. And this recruitment team did it on really a shoestring. And I say that loosely, given the fact that I know 100 million is a lot of money. But in terms of Premier League signings, 10 players for 100 million is F all. It's nothing. So, and they've nailed it, mate. They've absolutely nailed it. In January, me included, maybe not as much as most, but we were flapping about not signing any players. They were committed to what they'd set out. So they knew that they had more to go at to make sure that we can establish ourselves in season 2. And they nailed it again. So we have to give them all the credit for whatever criticism that we all gave them, or those of you that did. They nailed it. They got it perfect. Even the Harry Wilson deal at this point then becomes, you know what? If they were getting messed around and they weren't prepared to pay whatever they wanted, etc., Igor Pajau, all these kind of failed transfers that happened, they got them all perfect because all that mattered was that we finished 17th or above this season.
100%, absolutely. And do you know what? Going into the summer, like you say, we'll have a deep dive on this in a future show, but I would love to see where we're picking up frees and players that maybe slightly checkered injury that we can rehabilitate and get the most value. I want to see that because I don't think it's going to be possible. That I think what I'll get frustrated with is if fans are suddenly expecting us to sign 4 players for 40 million each or something like that. Totally ignoring what we've done this season because, they might look at what Forest did when they splashed out for Gibbs White and this kind of thing. We've got to look at what we did this season. We need more smart recruitment like that. We've got to be smart. There were smart ones that can do it well. The championship recruitment was spot on as well, bang on as well. So if they do that again, smart deals. There's the defender at Union Berlin who's on a free, who's meant to be really good. Harry Wilson, you never know, we might still be in for him as well. A lot of options out there, and I hope they go down that route rather than just spunking money on, whoever.
I've been watching a lot of Spurs content, just because it's funny.
It's great.
It's great, so great. And quite a few of them have been going through the Leeds team and kind of saying, why didn't our recruitment team look at Anton Stack? Why didn't our recruitment team look at Jacobiol? Why didn't our recruitment team take a chance on Dominic Calvert-Lewin? They signed Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth for 60 million.
Yeah.
Like a big transfer fee doesn't equal necessarily a great transfer. That's what the fans can't get their head around sometimes. Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a free transfer, without a doubt, pound for pound, signing of the season. People want to say Granit Xhaka, fine. If you want to argue Granit Xhaka instead, I can't really argue with that too much. But in terms, for me, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin, pound for pound, signing of the season.
It's when you look on the face of it, this is a guy with massive amounts of Premier League experience, and we got him for free.
Yeah.
And what has he scored? 12?
12 Premier League goals.
12 Premier League goals, but all the other stuff that he does.
All the other stuff. Yeah.
It's staggering. Glenn asks here, it might be a silly question. This, if we buy back Archie Gray, will he count as homegrown? He would, because he's come through the academy, but I don't see us doing it. But hey ho, I did joke about. Imagine if we'd have stuck, Parag stuck a sly little buyback clause in there, like
if they're relegated,
and then buyback clause or something. You know what I mean? First refusal for Leeds. I would absolutely love that.
I think Archie will be going on to big stuff. I mean, he might stick around if Spurs go down and have a season with him in the Championship, given the wages, and he'll be kind of guaranteed to play every week. But I have a feeling that you might see him pop up at Dortmund or Madrid. I just have a feeling that he might be shipped out of there because they're gonna. I mean, we could do a whole show on speaking about Spurs, and
yeah, we could. Yeah.
If they go down, they're gonna have some serious restructure issues. They're gonna have some serious problems.
Well, if Spurs going down and it's looking very, very likely at this stage, again, it points to how well we've done to dislodge a team like that. I feel, sitting on our position, I still feel like the rug's going to be pulled from under me. I still feel like it's like we've broke the matrix by staying in the season, because it was like, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season, okay, another promoted team is going to be safe early on, and if I was looking at the Premier League, going, right, who else is going to drop out of this league?
Yeah,
Brentford, new manager, sold the captain, but they've cracked on. Who else are you going to replace in this league?
Yeah.
If you'd have said Spurs again, I did not expect Spurs to have a season like this again.
Well,
no way.
I know. Again, I was watching another piece of content the other day, and when you look, and Farker mentioned it in the interview last night, Forest are in a European semi-final, and they're 1-0 up against Villa. Nearly qualified for Champions League and all the rest of it. Spurs won the Europa League a year ago. That table that I was looking at when we were just talking earlier, Spurs finished 7th on 62 points and qualified for the Europa Conference League. It gives some sort of perspective to the gravitas of what we've managed to achieve. These are the teams that we're competing with. We're not competing with Burnley and Wolves. We're competing with Forest, West Ham, who won the Europa Conference League only the other year as well, and Spurs. It's nuts, the distance that we've managed to cover. And, Sunderland have done it to a point as well. I think Sunderland will be in big trouble next year. I'm telling you. I think they'll be in real trouble next year. I've said it all year, and eventually I feel like I'm going to come back to be right on it. It weren't that much of a surprise to me that they got drubbed by Forest.
No. Well, the underlying numbers and everything, I know people sometimes joke about that stuff, but it's not been great, has it?
No. They're not very good.
No, I think they'll struggle. Do you know what? I even heard fans, I was watching a fan channel after Forest defeat, and they were having a couple of whinges about Diarra and Siddiqui. Especially Diarra, not living up to that money.
Well, Regis Labrie had to confirm that he were staying earlier on this week. So it's super interesting. But I've just got that table in front of me here as well, because I just think it's always good to have a moment to grab some context. And I know everybody knows the demise of Leicester. They've got relegated to League One last week.
Yeah.
In the season that we stayed up under Bielsa season 1, they finished 5th on 66 points, 3 points behind Liverpool. And, that's nuts. When you think about, again, the trajectory and what we've been able to do. Leicester got relegated, were in the Championship with us, cheated their way to the Premier League and absolutely bombed in that season.
Yeah.
We've been able to surpass that and more.
Absolutely. It is phenomenal. And I've got to look at the ownership group, and I just think, I take my hats off to what they've done at the club. I know in football generally there's a lot of scepticism about owners, about who's running your club, the direction. You look at Leicester, you look at so many clubs. I just think since day one that these owners come in, they've just moved us in the right direction. And I know fans have been on their case. I know there's been certain things we've not been happy about, but I really feel like they've got the best interests at heart. I really feel like they're driving us forward. You can say whatever ends it's to be. Do they want Leeds to be, one of the best teams in Europe, as Parag said, or is it to, sell the club and get the value for the investors? Whatever it is, it's working at the minute.
I think they've got it as close to perfect as they could have done.
I agree.
I think the mistake that Parag Marathi made was when he came out and said he does contracts in his sleep and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The jargony American, their culture's different to ours.
Yeah.
And we take things very literally.
Yeah.
So when they say things like that, well, we want to see it then. And then when it don't materialise because the player goes to Sunderland over us or whatever, that's when we're going to jump all over it as a fan base. But when you actually look at the decisions that they've made as the full owners of this football club, from Daniel Farker to dealing with the transfer window, the whole mess and the fallout of that first season, they're having to deal with loan clauses and all the rest of it. They managed to do what they did that season, record numbers to not go up. To then go again, right recruitment, selling Glenn Kamara and bringing in Tanaka and the moves that they made, backing themselves with Manor Solomon's wage and medical and all the things that we talked about, the medical department, or nearly every single signing, nearly every single one has been perfect.
Yeah.
Literally, Brian. I struggle to think of any. Jed Spence, I think
they were like they were just loans though, weren't they? Yeah. It's like, all right, it was a bit of a high loan fee, but it's not like you've wasted 10 million or 15 million or.
No, I don't see a bad foot.
No.
Literally, when they're not here, you could maybe make a game. But what's it cost us? Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You know what I mean? So I just think they've been almost perfect.
Yeah, agree.
And the biggest, sorry, just before we move on, the biggest call that they made was the man at the top of the tree, who deserves all of the credit. I mean, I stuck by him and really had back and forth with so many people in chat and online. I came off Twitter because I was done with it. I was done with this negativity surrounding it, and I didn't need it. But I'm so glad both me and you stuck with it, and not just because we didn't want to be proven wrong. That's not what it was at all. Because we had a genuine belief and a reality of what was in front of us, that it was materializing into good stuff. And people are so short-sighted and short in memory sometimes, in that they're complaining about dominating football games. It's what I couldn't get my head around last season. Like, oh, it's boring. We only won 2-0, and we should have gone and won 4 or 5. It's like, what? Like, so for me, he deserves so much credit, because going into his Premier League season, everything was against him. The way that the Premier League is now, in general anyway, the gap has got so much bigger. The money's involved, his history, Norwich, his experience, the players' experience, the team that we had, everything was against him. And he has been able to materialise something that is so much more than what it should have been.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree with that. Getting to some comments then. 78, I trust our recruitment team to spend every penny well this summer and continue our upward trajectory. JB, welcome along, mate. How do you keep the faith? I struggled all season. Don't get how you do it. I know you both surely had doubts. Interesting point. I think, yes, doubts. Yeah, there's all, when we were on a run and we're in difficult moments, you do wonder, we speculated when we're on that losing run, will they make a change from Farker? But I think, just as you've said, we saw something in how we were setting up and how we were competing. Even games prior to that Man City game, it was really only kind of, the Burnley result was disappointing. Forest Brighton, not great, but it was like, we're in the Premier League. There's going to be some horrible games. There's going to be some nasty runs, and we've been treated to have now only lost 4 in 25 or some ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. And I think we just had that perspective a little bit. And I just think we saw enough in the whole picture to keep that faith. But there's always going to be niggling doubts, worries, concerns. But I think hopefully what we've tried to do is just fill the air, the space with a bit more kind of positivity or something, balance, whatever it is. Because I think, it's very easy to go straight to that negative, go straight to the what's bad.
Realism is the word thing.
Yeah.
Like, I put this to fans a lot this season, and I said it earlier, the expectation this season was to finish 17th and stay up on goal difference, right?
Yeah.
And I used to throw this back. I remember me and Gavin having conversations earlier on in the season in the chat. I used to throw it back and say, well, the expectation was to finish 17th on goal difference. Right now, we're 3 points above that. How can you be unhappy? That's the expectation. That's the minimum bar. Yeah, but of what we are desperately hoping. And I remember having a conversation with you on one of these where we could have seen ourselves getting to the end of the season, getting relegated and saying that we actually gave it a really good go and it weren't that bad. We actually did as well as we could have expected, because most promoted teams get relegated. So if it's above that, at any point it's above that, it's a massive success.
Yeah.
So I can't. I've been a Leeds fan all my life, and I've had plenty of times where I absolutely lose my mind, and I am all, me and you laugh about it all the time. The Liverpool game, the Bournemouth game when we were streaming and we were losing our minds in the relegation season. There were so many bad things, and we used to rag Victor Orta and Radrizzani under the bus all over the place. We're not just positive for the sake of being positive, is the point I'm getting to. We're positive because of what we can see. Yeah. We're trying to deal it with some realism rather than just fear and shitting his pants because we don't want to get relegated again.
But some content creators, they put it out there. They've got this complete block on Farke. Like Farke is at the bottom of the list to get any credit for what's happened. And then they'll point to, things like, well, we didn't use Ramazani enough or something. They'll use these very tired and old sticks to beat Farke with. And you're going, what are you watched it? We just went to Old Trafford and played them off the park and won there for the first time in 45 years. Like, what else are we needing here? It's crazy. Just to get some comments in as well, Gav, credit has to go to Farke. He was on the ropes at halftime at City, but by changing it, he's become a better manager and rewards and nothing spent in Jan. I disagree with that. I don't. This idea of he's become a better manager. I just think it's like almost like suddenly the light bulb went off at halftime and he suddenly stumbled. We've talked about it many times. I just think it kind of ignores what was already there and what he achieved with us even prior to that moment.
We're going to go through all these comments because there's some great ones. I just want to bring this one up, which is a bit further down, because this kind of backs up what you've just said. I remember Jay saying after Burnley beat us 2-0 that if they carry on playing like that, they'll be in trouble, and if we carry on, we'll be fine. And that's the truth. And that is, again, it's played out in reality. I don't just say that because I want to be positive. I say it because that's how I see it. If I thought we were really, we weren't great that day, but you could see the way that we were trying to play through all that part of the season and that game. It was something that was gonna more likely get us the points that we needed to stay up, and it's proven that. I agree with you. I don't think that he just accidentally fell across that at halftime at Manchester City. It was very likely something that had been built. You couldn't come out and play it that good if it was.
No.
You know what I mean? You don't just change the formation and then the players are like, oh yeah, this is just bliss, this. It'll have been worked on in training. And for whatever reason, at that point, Farke decided it's the moment to do that. And not only that, the 5-3-2 or the 3-5-2 has improved dramatically from that halftime against Manchester City. The way that it looks now is nothing like what it looked like 6 months ago or 5 months ago, whatever it is. It's so much better. But people just see the formation.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the same. It's not.
Absolutely. Some creators are preparing their Farke out summer campaigns already. It's crazy. That absolutely will. That will happen. 100%. There's going to be a lot of managers flying around in the summer as well. Obviously, there's going to be managers leaving national teams after the World Cup. There's going to be a lot of managerial change, and no doubt there's going to be proportion of that kind of stuff put out there about Farke, absolutely no doubt. JB, why can't I send you both super chats? Yeah, we don't have that on, but really appreciate that. Thank you.
We need to get that on, Brownie.
I know. I need to. There must be a button somewhere I can press for that. Gave Farke even better tools this summer. Go strong on a keeper and a striker.
Gav, you've come round so much.
Yeah.
I almost
you were wobbling.
I'd like to say I'm proud of you, but it sounds patronising. I'm not meaning to be patronising, but I've only ever pushed back because everybody that comes into the stream, I want them to enjoy Leeds United as it is right now as much as possible. Now, I understand the nerves and the stress. I feel it as well. I really do. And over the season, it's been under Bielsa, it was like I couldn't contain myself at times. Yeah. But the reality is we wanted what we've got this season, and we've been bloody good. For what we were expecting, which was likely to go back down, we've been bloody good. So when I push back, it's because I want you guys to be really enjoying your football club and what's happening.
Yeah. Instead of kind of automatically jumping to Anthony, great show, lads. Could listen to you all day, talk as much sense about Leeds. I get you guys, and thanks as always for your takes and thoughts and everything. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Means a lot, does that. Thank you. Shall we have a look at the league table?
Yeah, that's good.
Has anybody seen Lewis Sale? There we go. We have jumped over the tune. I mean, that if you'd have told me, how much did Newcastle spend in the summer? 250 million or something. It's crazy. We've leapfrogged Newcastle. Obviously, they've got a game in hand, but to see it up to dizzying heights of 14th, Jay, I mean, it's dreamland stuff.
Yeah, it is. What pleases me the most is that loss column. Because I'm recognised. I thought we would lose a lot of games this season. I remember saying, again, we're kind of reflecting a lot today. But I remember saying to you a lot, the likelihood is we'll lose between 18 and 20 games this season, and we still will possibly stay up. You know, that season that I bang on about, when Bielsa finished 9th, Burnley finished 17th and lost 19 games. 19 games, man. Leeds finished 9th and lost 15 games. We've lost 3 games less than that. We've only got 3 games left to play. So, like, it's an unbelievable achievement. And, you know, JB's been really, really good to come back and acknowledge the fact that I was right. So, I respect that massively. That draw column, that 13 points, that's the difference between going up and staying down.
Yeah, it's
staying up and going down. Yeah, like, it is. You know, it's as good that as 4 more wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely staggering when you look at it. I mean, and a lot of those games as well could have been wins. Some of them, it could have really been wins. But I mean, it's just great to see. I mean, there's no possible way that we can still be dragged in, is there now, Jay? I mean, surely. I mean, it would be so, ridiculous and off the scale.
We're 9 points clear with 12 to play for.
Yeah.
Nah. Like, I just don't. It's not just Spurs, because I mean, I don't think Spurs stand a chance of getting 43. No. But I don't believe there's a world in which I'm not including Newcastle just yet, but Forest, West Ham, and Spurs, I don't think there's a world in which they all finish above 43. I don't think there's a world in which they all finish above 40, if I'm honest. No. I think this is what happens very quickly. I think Spurs lose tomorrow. I think we take a point off them.
Yeah.
And I think by then they might already be down. I don't know what West Ham will do a day against Brentford. I'm a bit back and forward with it. Then West Ham have got Arsenal. So the likelihood is they go into the Chelsea away game to Spurs needing a win to stay up. And I just don't see it. I think West Ham beat Newcastle at I can't remember if it's home or away. And I think that'll be the win that takes West Ham to 39 points. And I don't see Spurs getting past 37.
No, they are in hell. Spurs.
Yeah, they are.
They are really. I mean, any little crumbs of comfort that they've had over the last few weeks I just think it absolutely goes up in fact. I just don't see any. I don't see them beating Villa. I know Villa not being fantastic. They lost me. I think Villa can play at 30% and beat Spurs.
Yeah,
we can play so below and still comfortably beat this Spurs team.
The only thing that could be in their favour is obviously the Europa League situation with Villa losing 1-0. But Villa still need a win. And Villa finished the season with Liverpool and Manchester City. They've got Manchester City on the last game of the season. So Villa will be looking at the winnable games to get them the 3 points that probably confirms top 5 for Champions League. So they're not in a position where they can kind of just throw this game. But James Maddison is expected to play tomorrow for Spurs.
Right.
Now, if Maddison's fit, he could make a serious difference. I can't see that he can just come in after 34 games of the season, though, and hit the heights after coming back from an ACL injury. I don't see it. So I think they lose comfortably tomorrow. I think they'll lose 3-0.
If you're Maddison as well, it's like, how risky is that? I mean, if you've come back from an ACL and you're thrust into having to play at that intensity to try and grind your team out of a relegation, I just think that's a recipe for him to get injured again. I think it's so irresponsible if they just throw him in. And look, I get you're desperate, but it's like, I'm sorry, but no, to expect him to come in and do it all of a sudden, I think it's ridiculous.
Have you seen Kudus has refused to take Tottenham's medical advice?
No, I haven't.
Spurs medical team have advised Mohamed Kudus, I think, to get an operation or surgery or something on this particular injury that he's got at the moment, and Kudus is basically is employing like a private medical team to give him the advice instead.
Wow!
Obviously, everything that's gone on the Spurs on the medical side this season is nuts.
Don't blame him. Don't blame. I mean, it's off the charts, isn't it? That what's happened, in terms of injuries, and it's just the stars are aligning for Spurs. I think they have sailed close to the wind for so long, and I think last season they didn't heed the warning. I think whether you think Frank stayed too long this season or not, they're paying the price for just woeful recruitment, woeful, I mean, the way they switch from one style of manager to another style of manager, but then they've got a team that's been recruited for this manager, that manager. I mean, it's like Conor Gallagher. I mean, he's not a deserving player, is he? I mean, at all. He's just not that type of player. Oh, you spent 40 million on him. It is bonkers, that club. Absolutely.
Do you know what points total they finished on last season?
Oh, was it like 35 or something?
They finished on 38. So as it stands, they've spent the last 2 seasons trending at 1 point per game because they're on 34 from 34 right now. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy that a club like that. And I still look at the team. The team that's going to play against Villa tomorrow. I look at it and I still think it still shouldn't be anywhere near this, really. It shouldn't. But there is something inherently wrong there. There's a serious. I shared with Lou the other day about the Nicky Butt and Kevin Nolan video where they were saying that Newcastle team that went down were way better than this Spurs team. Way better. But sometimes something infiltrates the camp, motivation and confidence hits such a low that they can't do anything about it. And that's kind of what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, we can compare it to us, the relegations we've suffered from the Premier League, and sometimes it's your time. I mean, sometimes it just feels. I mean, I remember. I mean, the most horrendous feeling last time we got relegated was going into games knowing you're really not going to do it, but still having this like faint hope that we could win 3 out of the next 4 games and still survive. You have that annoying part of you like that. And then within about 10 minutes of watching the game, you're like, no, we're crap.
Yeah. You're completely lying to yourself, aren't you? You're going into every game completely lying to yourself.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Yeah. It's staggering. I think as I mentioned earlier, I think to get teams out of the Premier League, because the Premier League is set up now where they don't want new teams entering it and stabilising. I mean, to the Premier League, Bournemouth, Brighton and Brentford are a pain in the ass because it's like, how are these clubs doing it? How are they competing year in, year out? And it's credit to how they're run. And you need to operate. You need to operate in that way. I would say our recruitment and the way we've operated is on that, for this season, is on that level for what we've needed to do. And if we continue on that, hopefully we can stabilise like them. But our potential is so much more than them because we're a much, much bigger club than any of those. And that's where the excitement is for me. That's where it's like, if it continues on this trend and if we operate in a smart way like that, it's an exciting future. And that's what feels like tantalising.
Who do you think goes then? Do you think Spurs go?
I think Spurs go.
Yeah.
I think Spurs. I think what West Ham have shown under Nuno is, and they've done brilliant to turn it around. Because where were they? Do you remember when they lost to Wolves 3-0 and they were like on something like 12 points or something ridiculous? They were really out of it, miles out of it, and they've kept themselves in the top 7 of the form table for a long, long time now. And I just think they have enough about them. I just think Spurs, there's no way for me Spurs beat Chelsea. I can't see them beating Villa. I think we go there and get a point off them. I just don't see how Spurs do it. They were so bad against Wolves last week. They were absolutely woeful against Wolves last week. I don't see how you can click it on or turn it on. I just don't.
I also reckon if you're a neutral, you're looking at the Leeds game right now and saying that Spurs don't stand a chance against us. 100%. I think we only say that because we're Leeds fans.
Yeah.
Like, we don't fully have the confidence that we can go there and get the win, but I truly believe that if I weren't a Leeds fan and I were looking at their fixtures, I'd be like saying, and watching Leeds at the moment, blow Man United away, blow Wolves away, blow Burnley away yesterday, get a point at Bournemouth. I think I'm saying Spurs don't stand a chance of winning that game. Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't see it. Like I say, I think Spurs struggle to finish on 37 points. I think if West Ham win today, I don't think they will. I don't think West Ham beat Brentford away today. But I think if they do, I think it's done. Because I can't imagine that Spurs would be able to deal with that. They'll be 5 points behind. They know that a win, it doesn't even get them out of relegation zone. Like, there's not that kind of, like, it still doesn't do anything. So I think they're in big, 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 big trouble now.
Yeah, totally agree. What's your plan for watching football? Obviously, there's huge games across all the leagues today. Obviously, Championship is already in action. As Gav says, Borough, Ipswich winning, so there's stuff to watch there. Obviously, West Ham today. We've got Spurs game tomorrow. There's League One stuff happening. I mean, it's just it's that time of the season, isn't it, where all the exciting stuff's coming to the fore.
Your question is, what are your plans for football today? And my answer is just yes. Like that's just it, just all of it. Yeah, so I'm gonna come off this now. I'm gonna watch Championship, because I wish Southampton had held on to the win midweek, because that would have made the Championship so tantalising today. The likelihood is Ipswich at home to QPR, they will get that one over the line. But they're in a three-way battle for second with Millwall and Middlesbrough, which is just exciting, isn't it? Yeah. And then League One, you know, our kind of show obviously is all about West Yorkshire. Yeah. We've got Bradford in a situation where if they lose at Exeter today, which is very likely because Exeter need to win to stay up or to have a chance of staying up, and Bradford would pour away from home, they end up falling out of the playoffs if Luton and Stevenage win. So it just makes it exciting. I love it. I love the end of the season. And then it leads into the playoffs, doesn't it, which is class. And then I'll be picking up with the West Ham game because I do want to see what goes on next, even though I now don't think we're even part of the conversation. No. I'm still excited to see what happens. And like pretty much every other neutral football fan, I want to see Spurs go down because I think it's just class narrative in it. I want to see what happens. I want to see who Spurs start the season with in the Championship away at Stevenage or away at Lincoln. Who's Spurs? Yeah, it's hilarious. So yeah, I'm all about it, mate. And then tomorrow I'll be watching Spurs at 7:00. I'll be watching the game tomorrow. Liverpool tomorrow as well. Scum Liverpool tomorrow. So yeah, I'm loving it, mate. I'm loving it, and it's even nicer when we don't have to sweat.
Oh, beautiful! And we've even got non-league today, isn't it? Bradford Park Avenue, Wembley in the Northern Premier League East playoff final. So yeah, that's going to be fascinating. And I know we've got there's a bunch of us from West Yorkshire Football Show that'll be down there. So if you are there today, do say hello to the guys. But it's just a football feast, isn't it, mate? Football feast. We just and we don't have to stress. We can just sit back and enjoy it.
Just what a season, mate! What a season it's been. You know, we can just really look back and look at it so fun. You know, like when you watch highlight reels of seasons, you can really watch one of this season. I think it's a season to be so proud of. So proud of. So many good moments, so many good performances, good goals. You know, players I've fallen in love with and felt a part of with. You know, so many stories in terms of like narratives. James Justin, Noah Okafor's injury, Calvert Lewin's history. You know, all of it. Will the players such as Ethan Ampadu step up? The goalkeeper dilemma, Carl Darlow coming in at £500,000 2 years ago and now being as number one. Like just all these more things. Brendan's redemption. It's just what a season, mate. It's just, and I know it's not finished yet, and we can, you know, we've got a big part to play, by the way.
You're huge.
Yeah, I love it.
What just to kind of, you know, speculate a little bit as well. I mean, you know, mentioned about Dallas saying about avoiding the pitfalls, and my fear was, you know, if we'd have gone down this year, you'd become a bit of a yo-yo team. But actually, we've got a recent relegation, and it's almost like a blueprint of what not to do.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of your priority, if you were looking ahead, what do we absolutely need to do, and how do we avoid what happened last time in that second season?
Well, I think Radrizzani and Orta were both a bit fly by night, weren't they? There were chances to a point, and I think that they saw us finish ninth and thought, "It's all right, we don't really need to do all." I think they thought at worst Marcelo would be good enough to see us finish 13th, 14th, and that would be fine with the same team. Basically, they didn't think that they needed any progression. So I don't see that happening with the 49ers. They're very, very clued up. The plan that's already in place that we've all been basically shared to us really is kind of playing out in the way that they're foreseen. They predicted 16th this season, I think it was, on that blueprint. They've already got down money and transfers for next season in terms of then developing the squad. And I think there's some clear... My lad said to me yesterday, he says, "Oh, what position do you think we should improve on next season?" I says, "Well, all of them." Like we're not in a we've not got a Rafinha where we've got a player that just doesn't need replacing. Every single one of them will need replacing over the course of time. It's the ones where you see as being the most priority. So I think, goalkeeper, I think immediately, even though I think Cardallo's been great recently, really. I don't want to build. There should be no world in which we're taking 36-year-old Cardallo into a season 2 as being number 1. No. I'd say a striker that can be a little bit more clinical to play as well as Calvert-Lewin, with him sometimes instead of him other times. And then, you go and sign a statement creative piece, and then you fill in the gaps between them. In other squad areas where you have rotation of players that are no longer good enough. But I think a creative element, Pablo Hernandez is the one that we always kind of mention. But you know what I mean. Emi Buendia, diminutive, creative. Morgan Rogers would be. I'm not saying Morgan, but when Morgan Rogers went to Villa from the Championship, that player would be perfect.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And the 49ers were there with Orta and Rads. They had the inside scoop on it. They'll know what that looks like. And I mean, that was a horrendous summer when you look back in terms of the business with Firpo, Dan James. I mean, it was just not what we, shocking really. So we've got it there. We know what we need to avoid. Premier League's even tougher now, even harder. But by staying up this season, the advantage we've got on those newly promoted teams coming up is monumental. Absolutely monumental. And hopefully a couple of Premier League teams have a wobble next season. So hopefully there's a couple there that maybe a Fulham or whoever, Fulham lose Marco Silva, for example, who knows, hopefully inch by inch we can just, I would love it next season if it was a comfortable 14th, comfortable 13th, where it's not as quite as close to the relegation zone for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
But it could be a dogfight again. We don't know.
Yeah. Brighton spent a few years there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Palace did. When Southampton were first in and around there, that they did as well. Like Villa did when they first got promoted again, and Newcastle did when they got promoted. Yeah. So that's going to be still part of the journey. But I agree with you, and I do think we're never going to have a better opportunity. We're going to have Coventry, who I think are going to find it really difficult. It looks like we're going to have Ipswich. Ipswich are already 2-0 up. They're kind of ruining the last day of the season. That's boring. We wanted it to be 0-0 for 70 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to have Ipswich, who have shown what they could do before, and the team's only got worse. And the recruitment isn't going to have been able to improve that much, given the landscape of time. And then it's going to be Millwall, Middlesbrough, Derby. Who else is in that area? Southampton. If they come, it's not strong.
No. And it's hard for whoever comes up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You look at Sunderland, where they spent big, got some really decent players in, got a linchpin in Granit Xhaka. But I would bet if the league was another 10 games long, they would be sliding down that league.
Sweating big time. I think Sunderland will be in and around it. Big changes. I think there's others as well, mate. I think Palace are going to be in a bit of a flux. Glasnow's going to leave, and their situation will be interesting. I think Forest will still be in and around it because they will always be mad while he's there. Morgan Gibbs-White can't spend another thing. Have you seen that Morgan Gibbs-White's the top scorer in the Premier League since the turn of the year?
Is he? Wow.
And he plays for Nottingham Forest.
Mad. He's not going to, exactly. I mean, if they lose Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White, I mean,
nuts.
Their time could come to an end because it's just so chaotic, and I think he's a bit of a flashy bugger as well, isn't he? It's like they won't do the free signings; they want to do the splash the cash, don't they? Yeah. But look, if they get in the Champions League, who knows? That could change it if they end up winning the Europa League, which would be absolutely mad.
Imagine.
And Silva leaving Fulham, so hopefully we just establish ourselves, keep going. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice to kind of be at this point now where we're 43 points. It feels like it's done, and we can just praise Farker, the boys, the club, for being in such a strong position, and just look forward to enjoying last 3 games of the season.
That's it, mate.
Good stuff. Right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you to everyone who got your comments in, Gail, as well. Thank you very much for joining us later on there. If you're watching this stream again later, get your comments in on the video. Like the video if you've not done so already, and please do subscribe to the channel. I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. And enjoy the rest of your footballing weekend. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.